Wow, that was close. Maybe I should have glanced at my life once or twice while doing that? Hey there, my name is Salandrak and welcome back to my Reign of Giants Wagstaff playthrough series. We're going to be heading into summer this episode. We'll spend a little time down in the caves and fend off some increasingly larger hound attacks. But will we at long last break our streak of not having any seasonal giants visit? Stick around to find out. As always, if you like this type of content, or even if you don't but want to help the channel out, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you'll be notified of future episodes. Now let's get to it. It's currently day 53 with just a few days of spring left. I've got a pre-crafted ice fling-o-matic that I need to get placed at my summer base and will also need more supplies moved over. I can't remember though what all I've moved over since the last session, so I head over to the desert to see what's still needed. First things first, I get the ice fling-o-matic placed, then put down a lightning rod for added protection from the weather. I want a readily available supply of monster meat, so I place 2 spiders' nests up near the Volt Goat herds. I'm pretty sure they're neutral to each other and will make good neighbors and an awesome food source. But then I start hearing the baying of hounds already and quickly contemplate my options. I could run back to my regular base tooth trap area, but that's a bit far, so I decide to just hang out with the goats and see if I can get enough of the hounds distracted that I can put down the rest myself. Frozen goat sickles. I end up tanking some of the hounds with double armor on, and soon enough the attack is over, which gives me a good start on monster meat for summer. My sanity is a bit low and I have to chase off a shadow hand from my fire, and then I go ahead and make a couple of tooth traps. I'll set up a smaller tooth trap area here in the desert for future hound attacks, and then I start inventorying and organizing my storage for the rest of the night. If I happen to get visited by Dragonfly during summer, my plan is to just fight her mano a mano, so I'll need to keep an extra armor on hand, and I put an extra visor and chester for safekeeping. Tooth traps get placed near base, and then I go ahead and kill a couple of goats for big meats, which I'll keep on hand for a fresh hambat when needed, as well as make some jerky. I then start to head back to my regular base and decide to see if Chester will come with a telebrella warp. Nope. Does anyone know why he sometimes does and sometimes doesn't warp with me? I'm gonna go on a mining expedition later to stock up on gold, stone, and niter. I never got a moose goose and couldn't make a luxury fan, and never got a deer clops and probably wouldn't have wanted to wear an umbrella anyways, so in order to stay cool during summer, I'll need to rely on chilled thermal stones, a floral shirt, and endothermic fires, so niter will be crucial if I have to go away from base for long. But first I make some meatballs for the road trip, and then it's off to the Mosaic. I swing by the bee boxes to grab a little honey and hop into the wormhole to make a quick escape from the bees. And looks like I just discovered a way to get Chester back with me if he doesn't follow with the telebrella. Up in the Mosaic, I set to work mining the boulders, going for regular and gold ones, whatever's in the area basically, and keep going with my infroggles on when night arrives. It's raining a bit and my sanity is already low, so eventually I drop the backpack so I can wear my raincoat and stay dry. Then day 55 arrives and I keep on mining. About a segment before dusk, I decide that I have enough for now, grab my backpack and start heading back to base. Looks like I'm too far to use the telebrella, so I run all the way back, grabbing green mushrooms in the mini swamp along the way so I can get my sanity topped back up. Soon I'm home and cook some mushrooms and eat them to boost my brain. At my regular base, I decide to grab some more hound's teeth to bolster my desert tooth trap area, and then head back to the summer base. I drop a fire pit next to the endothermic one. I'll need a regular fire for cooking monster meat to make eggs during the summer, and speaking of eggs, I still need a bird cage, so that gets made and placed just as shadow hands try to grab my fire, but dawn arrives and banishes them. A third chest goes down for a little extra storage space, and I spend some time getting everything organized. Next up is expanding my tooth trap arsenal. At day 56, I could get hound attacks from between 4 to 11 days from the last one, with 5 to 7 hounds in each attack. This is how it'll be until day 101, at which point the frequency drops to every 3 to 8 days, with 7 to 10 hounds per attack. I'll do a full video on periodic hound attack mechanics at some point in the Beginner's Guide series. 9 traps here though is a good start and will certainly help for punishing the poochies. I never harvested the burnt trees around Maxwell's door, so I grab my luxury axe and head over to gather up the charcoal. As I finish up, I see a suspicious dirt pile and decide to track it down. It sends me off to the other side of the desert and turns out to be another koalafen, but I've already got a pet at my regular base, so I go ahead and beat the meat pinata, further bolstering my food stores for the summer base. Back at base, I go ahead and plant some pine cones off to the side. I keep them plenty spaced out so that if one spontaneously combusts during the summer, the flames won't spread to anything else. The Qualiphant trunk makes a tasty snack, then I put up 2 more meat on the drying racks. My summer base is pretty haphazard in its building placement, but oh well. I'll only be here for a single season, so I don't care about making it pretty. Dawn of day 57 arrives, bringing with it the arrival of summer! I go ahead and grab my thermal stone and then head back for a final supply run to my regular base, grabbing cactus flowers along the way for my floral shirt. My telebrella again fails to bring Chester with me, but at my regular base I gather ingredients and then make the summer shirt. This is the best chest-worn clothing insulator in the game, and since I'm committed to only wearing glasses on Wagstaff, I won't be able to use any insulated head items. I'll need Chester to haul some things back to the summer base, so I hop back and forth into the nearby wormhole to get him back with me, then grab some honey from the full bee boxes. At the regular base, I go ahead and gather the ingredients for a new telepad, as I'll want to destroy this one and place a pad at the summer base for quick recall. And besides, once the scorching heat of summer sets in, I'll have to avoid this base, lest I risk burning it all down to ashes. Inventory is full though, so I just carry the honey while running back to the desert, stocking up on grass along the way. Oh hey, looks like I've got a lure plant by Maxwell's door. I think I'll just leave it. They're no good against firehounds, but maybe I'll have need for its garbage disposal services. I've got a ton of spoiling monster meat that I cook up on the fire pit as night arrives with the full moon. Icebox stores are looking really good, and then I get to work crafting my new telepad. I go ahead and make another icebox for increased freezer storage, and it's day 58. A bird trap goes down to get a feathered friend for my cage, and then I cook up a couple of cactus to top up my sanity. Next I make some extra log suits for a potential dragonfly fight, and then I've got my bird for the cage. I'll keep the trap on the ground for additional birds, if nothing else the small meats will be handy. Then, just for funsies, I make a flower salad. This is actually a pretty wasteful crockpot dish to make, as individual flowers provide as much food points and sanity as a full salad, and the healing is only a little higher with the salad compared to just eating 4 flowers. But oh well, sometimes it's fine to do things just for fun. I would like to have more pig skins, so I take some monster meat and go looking for a pig to transform. There are 2 pig houses near the edge of the desert, but sadly they seem to have run afoul of the frogs that are still around from last episode's frog rain. So instead, I set about gathering more grass before it wilts in the heat. Over by a walrus campsite, I find a tall bird engaged against the frogs, more free food. Never underestimate the strength of frogs in numbers. I've seen them take down whole herds of beefalo and even a moose goose. It's a full moon again and not hot enough yet for wildfires to start, so I swing by the regular base as I need to destroy the telepad here. Not sure where my hammer is at, so I just make a new one, then break down the pad. It will be easy enough to reconstruct once it's fall. Then I head off into the swamp to see if there are any pig heads on sticks that I can smash for more pig skins. They're usually along the road somewhere, and eventually after dawn on day 59 I find some by the forest clearing. My inventory is over full though, and I'm starting to overheat, but decide to just run back to base by route of the Savannah wormhole that I remember from the first episode goes to the desert. The hammer can just stay here for now. I'm taking damage from the heat, but I'm close enough to base that I don't really care. I've got plenty of healing options at base anyways. Fuel goes into the endothermic fire and the haze goes away. Looks like I had forgotten my thermal stone, oops. Since ham bats spoil faster during summer, I decide to use tentacle spikes instead for the season. They do a little less damage than a fresh ham bat, but will provide consistent decent damage, and I know there are plenty more waiting for me down in the swamp. As dusk arrives, I go out to head more cactus flesh and flowers and make a flower salad to heal up a bit. During the night, I cook up a couple rounds of bacon and eggs. I'm planning to go do some cave exploring and will keep these in Chester in case I run into any rabid vegetarians down there. Looking at my map, the closest sinkhole is the one in the swamp, so that's where I'll head. Dawn of day 60 arrives and I start loading up some supplies. This is a pretty full inventory for cave exploration, but I'm not planning to find anything that I want to bring back. A quick jog to the swamp sinkhole, I then make a basic pickaxe, open it up, and hop on in. Now I haven't covered the caves at all in my beginner guide series yet, but we'll do a full guide eventually. The biggest danger in the caves is probably the darkness, as running out of light or sources of light is obviously fatal. Thankfully though, it looks like Wagstaffs and Fryfocals do make it pretty easy to see down here, and I really like the contrast between the land and the void. So remember how when exploring I'm really OCD? Well, that really shows down here. I can tell from far away that these finger caves go nowhere, but in order to have them register fully on my map, which I obviously must do, I have to run out to the end anyways. I'm gonna skip ahead though, as the time down here is pretty uneventful. After a while of exploring, I do find a nice little set piece of an abandoned camp, complete with a science machine, fridge full of rot, and a fairly well stocked chest, and there's a lantern nearby. A nice find in case I need a backup light. I'm not terribly interested in the chest loot though, so I just leave it all here. Maybe I'll expand it into a full base later. I finally find a herd of rock lobsters just as an earthquake starts. I'm also starting to overheat, so I drop an endothermic fire and switch to normal goggles to watch for falling rocks. I mark the location of the lobsters with a trap. They're really useful for dealing with worm attacks and can also be taken to the ancient ruins to help take out stuff down there. Then it's off again to explore and... There's apparently a big section of this cave that is not connected, and the sinkhole to the ancient ruins looks like it's on that other section that I can't get to. Well, that's a first for me, but it just means I guess I'll have to go explore the other caves, go to the ruins, make a lazy explorer so I can telepoof across that gap back in this cave. I go ahead and finish outlining all of this side though, and even double check a few areas that have edges that I didn't get updated on the map. But yeah, there's definitely no way to get across that without warping or using a bug or console command to void walk, which I prefer not to do anyways. So yeah, that cave trip was a bust, but hey, it took up some time in the summer, which is usually pretty boring anyways. I head back to the entrance and return to the surface. Up top it's raining, but I don't notice that it's daytime and leave my infraggles on. I'm close enough to warp with my telebrella and hey, Chester came back with me this time, WTF! Seriously, does anyone have any explanation for why he sometimes comes and sometimes doesn't? After starting a fire, I realize it's daytime and take off my infraggles, then work on getting stuff stored. Since I picked up a red gem down in the caves, I decide to make some Fryfocals, the only goggles I haven't made yet. After they're made, I set out to find a victim to test them on, and a rabbit. It takes me a while to figure out that I can't attack with the Fryfocals if I'm holding anything that can be used as a weapon, but then I managed to fry a rabbit. Okay, that was kind of fun, but looks like they only last for 10 shots, so probably not terribly useful for the shooting ability. Though I did read somewhere that they are a vision option that doesn't degrade with use just by wearing them, unlike the spec toggles. They do change the color of everything quite a bit though, so I think I'll just stick with regular goggles. I tinker around base for the rest of Dusk, and then during the night chop down my local trees to stock up on some logs. Day 63 arrives as I fell the last one, and while planting new ones, I hear the baying of hounds again. The further you get in the game, the shorter the warning time gets, so I quickly store some things, then head over to my tooth traps. I get quite a few on me. The traps took out a couple, but then I down the rest, only getting hit once or twice, which is fine. More teeth means more tooth traps, so the next attack will be even easier. I hang out at base for the rest of the day, and just before night arrives, set out to the other side of the desert to harvest tumbleweeds. I haven't seen many blowing around near my base, but remember getting plenty in the other area when exploring it initially. Tumbleweeds have an invisible spawn point somewhere from which they then blow around, so it must be on this side of the desert, I'm guessing. By the time I head back to base, I've filled up my grass and twigs and then some, and have bagged several trinkets that the Pig King will reward me for. After dropping some stuff off and hanging around a bit at base, I then head out to take the trinkets to the Big Pig. The wormholes in this world really aren't placed very usefully, so I basically have to run the whole way as there isn't any shortcuts. Apparently this pig house burned down. Not really sure when I would have been in the area enough for that to have happened, poor little piggy. It's plenty hot outside, so I don't stop in any one location for longer than is absolutely necessary, especially around my base, which I just run straight past. It's the middle of night when I get to the Pig King, so rather than risking any of the local houses catching fire, I just go for a jog through the forest and grab any blue mushrooms I happen to see. But soon enough, it's day 65 and I turn in the trinkets for a healthy stack of gold and then start heading back to the desert. I quickly drop half of the gold at my regular base and then keep on trucking on, swinging into the swamp to grab some more tentacle spikes. Then near the sinkhole, I use the telebrella and once again Chester did come back with me. I wonder if it's a range to telepad sort of thing. Back at base, I cook up a couple batches of pierogi. They keep a lot longer than flour salad and there's still plenty of summer left for a dragonfly to show up. I decide to open the care package that Chester has been hauling around as I can't remember exactly what was in it. This is the downside of doing the gameplay for these videos weeks apart. Oh, that's right, lots of meatballs and honey, some honey poultices, and a fresh ham bat. As I'm wrapping them back up, one of my drying racks starts to smolder, but the flingo puts it out. Handy little things. Just as it's turning to dusk, I decide to go play with the local spiders. Dusk is a great time to do this as they'll keep streaming towards you as they exit their den and you hit one of their friends. It's quickly night, but I keep fighting them anyways. They go down in 2 hits with a tentacle spike, so I'm not worried about not wearing armor. But then the nests are empty, so it's back to base. Food stores are great, but I'm out of small meats for making my preferred bacon and eggs. So after hanging out at base for a bit, I grab my shovel and head out to find an unwilted berry bush. I want to find a berry bush to make a bush hat so I can easily get more small meats from buzzards. It's amusing and another way to pass the time during summer. But as I head out, I see a suspicious dirt pile near the lure plant, so I track it down. I want to tame a beefalo at some point, but will need steel wool from a ucus to make a brush, which I understand is useful for the taming process. The end of the trail is basically in my base, but I grabbed my blow darts from Chester just in case it's something nasty, but turns out to be just another qualifiant. After freeing up some inventory space, I grab my almost depleted tentacle spike, then go bash the beast. I spend the night at base prepping more foods, then make sure I'm sufficiently cooled off and set off to find my berry bush. I take the wormhole to the savannah and get ambushed by Grumpy Butt Beefalo. Looks like a berry bush near my regular base is wilted, so I head south past the beefalo to the grassy area near the killer bee fields, and voila! First bush is still happy, so I dig it up. I then head back towards my regular base as I'll need to quickly prototype the bush hat at my alchemy engine and then run away so nothing catches fire, all of which I managed to do without any incident. I also grab a dark sword I remembered was stored here as it will take down giants even faster than a fresh ham bat. I use the savannah wormhole to get back to the desert, then head over to where there's several buzzard icons on the map, killing an overeager hound along the way. Besides, I'll need the bait for the buzzards. I then drop Chester's eye bone, build an endothermic fire, swap into the log suit armor, drop the bait, and hide. First victims arrive quickly, and already the small meat and drumsticks are piling up. Looks like buzzards will also eat seeds, which I hadn't realized, so I hop up to gank this guy, but he flies away. I can't remember if buzzards still come down at night, but decide to give it a try anyways, hop back into the ground, but Wagstaff seems to hear something. A sound made by a beautiful behemoth, he says? Uh-oh, I think we're getting ourselves a dragonfly. I quickly make a second endothermic fire and head over to Chester to reconfigure my inventory. Bah, there's too much stuff, damn lack of a backpack and everything. I bust open the bundling wrap, I really just want the honey poultice, and then put the ham bat back in Chester, opting instead for the dark sword. And soon enough, here comes the hungry girl. She's heading straight for Chester. She spits fire on a bush, which quickly spreads to, I think, the bundling wrap that was on the ground. Not sure what else was flammable over there, but Chester is, so he's probably gonna die. So I run over to get her attention, and the fight begins. No fast forward for this one, as the Dragonfly is pretty fun to fight yourself. Her mechanics are similar yet different from how she's fought in Don't Starve Together, and of all the seasonal bosses in Reign of Giants, she's definitely the hardest to fight yourself melee style. It takes me a bit to get into the groove of fighting her. Basically, you want to hit her once, then move away while she does her Ring of Fire attack, and then go in to hit her up to 4 more times. The trick though is that after 2 hits, you want to move away to stop the fire damage from ticking down your health, as the damage from burning can really build up over time. You also want to keep her close to the endothermic fires. She won't destroy them, but her Ring of Fire attack will charge them up, and thereby help you stay cool during the fight. Overheating during this battle is the last thing you want to do. There's a couple of times that I mess up my walking stick toggle, and I also have trouble staying in the attack pattern groove. During the fight, I had my youngest cheering me on, which was all very exciting for him to watch, and in the heat of battle, I didn't notice my rapidly dwindling health pool. But fortunately, I took her out when I had maybe 1 or 2 more hits before I bit the dust, and thus defeated is our first seasonal giant of the playthrough. All too much cheering for my 6-year-old. Healing back up is a cinch with the honey poultices, and then I head over to Chester's corpse to survey the damage. I'm about to start overheating, so I grab the telebrella and warp back to the summer base to further patch up my wounds and cool down. Even though that Dragonfly fight wasn't the cleanest and almost resulted in Wagstaff's first fatality, I hope you'll hit that like button and subscribe as a seal of approval, and on that high note, we'll call it a wrap for today. See you in the next one. Cheers!